But really, one of the points about singing and music in general is up, down, up, down, farther up, farther down, farther up, farther down. So song itself was made in order to help us reach higher and go deeper. So that's what I want to do tonight. We're going to start? Yeah.
Oh, because I wanted to, you just said to say something before you started, so
I can also wait for David. I don't know where he went. What do you want to say?
Wait for David. Definitely.
We'll wait for David, right. So, we should meet each other.
Again.
Yeah. Want you all to know, we have a very special guest tonight. This is Reb Gedalia Fleer. I met Reb Gedalia in 1974, and he was already teaching before that probably, but anyway, I don't know if you haven't heard about him. So here he is in the flesh. It's very hard to get him to be here right now.
Very rare.
It really actually is very interesting series of events. So really, it's nice to sit next to you and
nice to be somebody else's class once in a while.
This was his original book. My first book I ever bought.
I don't come up to the ankles, but so therefore I'd like to share the class. What Gedalia wants to say, and you'll get a lot out of it if he will open his. Okay, so let's make that a kavana, an intention that we should ask Hashem to help us, that we should be able to hear things that will go into the deepest places in our hearts, that we should join together L'man Hashem, that in other words, to Shemamish make a place here where Hashem can speak to all of us. If it's me speaking or him speaking or any of us speaking, it's really Hashem speaking through us in some deep way. At least that's what we want to be. It says in Tehillim 27, Lecha amar libi. Lecha amar libi. Bakishu panai. So Lecha doesn't mean here to you, or it means on your behalf, Hashem, my heart says. My heart speaks to me on behalf of Hashem and says, Bikshu Panai, look for my face. So my heart is speaking now in the name of God and saying, God is saying, look for my face. It's just one little verse. But the point is that our hearts are the medium through which Hashem speaks to us. If we stop believing that, it's time to start getting into it again, because that's where I'm sure you all believe it, but let's like mamish make it as an intention, that we want to hear what our hearts are saying. That's the Torah of the heart. Right. The Torah of the heart. At some level of Torah, it's an interface where the person who's speaking Torah, who's learning Torah, Torah is our way of connecting to Hashem. In a sense, Torah becomes a thing that people think they know what it is. But really, Torah is a living relationship. You know, if you're Christian, you can say, God spoke to me. But a Jew, you never hear him say it. He says, I learned in the Torah. But really, we're saying the same thing, but we're toning it down so it doesn't sound weird. Because if a Jew would say, God spoke to me, you never hear a Jew say that. It's not a very Jewish thing to say. But if I say, I learned in the Torah, I'm saying the same thing. I'm just saying it in a more Jewish way. But it's not that I'm saying that God didn't say it. God did teach me this. I just wanted to, you know... So the first of all, it's special to be here, and that's why I want to make this and sitting in a circle and sitting here in this house which is becoming a place of Torah, because you chapped. David, you chapped.
No, Dara got
Dara Dara was living across the street, and you chapped.
She bothered me
You
for
got it. That this
weeks.
place needs to be a place of Torah.
And Dina and David.
Yeah. And so, to bring Torah down in this place makes this a Mishkan, makes this a Mikdash. Probably more than I could even say right now, but that's... when I learn Torah, I often picture the Kodesh Kodashim in the temple, where what was there, what was in the Holy of Holies? A box called an ark, and inside is three boxes. There's one gold, wood, and gold, and they fit together in such a way that the gold fits inside of the wood, and the wood and the gold fit inside of the gold. And then there's a slab of gold this thick on top of the whole thing. And it has to be that out of that slab of gold grows two, what? Kruvim. And they're looking at each other. And sometimes they're entwined with each other. And sometimes they're looking like this. And sometimes they're looking like this. Do they move? If you're being told that sometimes they look at each other, sometimes they don't, it seems like they're moving. But they don't necessarily have to move in the physical dimension. You can rub your eyes. Did I see them move? They didn't move in the physical dimension. They moved in another dimension, in the dimension that the Mikdash is in. The reason we went to the Mikdash was to enter into that higher dimension. The point is that I'm trying to bring out here is that when we're sitting at a table, we become the Kruvim. Because where did Hashem speak to the prophets? Hi, Liba. Unbelievable. Where did Hashem speak to us from? From between the Kruvim. Like that's a famous thing. Mi ben ha-Kruvim. It's two times in the Torah. Mi ben ha-Kruvim. So if you see us here, sitting here, we become the Kruvim, and where is Hashem? In between. In between us. I want to make that clear. We become a vehicle of bringing the divine word into the world. That's why the Holy of Holies is called the Devir, which could be called the word or the oracle. It's the place from which Hashem speaks to the world. It's the place where the infinite enters into the world of finite. And that's why it has to be a space between the Kruvim. It can't be a physical representation for that interface between the infinite and the finite. It's only a space. And so, for me, it means that when we learn Torah, we're trying to make that space, that sacred space where Hashem can come into us. So therefore, I'm not a normal, I wouldn't call myself a normal Torah teacher. I love Torah, I love to teach, I love to talk, but more than that, I love to feel Hashem's presence. I love that our hearts should